Hey, Daddy, this is the man of the champions, Bill Fonzie Alfonso, giving a shout out to something else. Something else, Daddy.
This is Nickel Matata, Great Warrior Wolf, and you are listening to Something Else.
I'm Tony Cini, and you're listening to Something Else.
Hey everybody, it's Rich Palladino, the voice of New England, and you are listening to Something Else with Arya.
And welcome to episode number 143 of Something Else. Feast your ear holes on this week's episode as we take a look at NWA Total Nonstop Action, episode number 22 from November 20th, 2002. My name is Arya, and joining me as always, let's see, is the Sunny Siaki to my easy money. It's Cyndi. Cyndi, how the hell are you today?
Sunny Siaki had a great night. Sunny Siaki is also the past, the present, and the future of podcasting. Sunny Siaki is ready to go.
What is Sunny Siaki up to these days? Maybe we can get him on the show to tell us all about being Sunny Siaki.
I know he did an interview with Marky D a couple of years ago. But ever since he donated his kidney to his sick brother and got out of the wrestling business, he's kind of lived a quiet life.
I honestly have no idea who that is. You said Marky D? No clue who that is.
He's a YouTuber. He does Ring of the Hawk.
Oh, cool.
He's a little crass at times, but that's kind of his charm.
Somebody's a little crass? Are you allowed to say those things on the internet?
On this network we can.
Okay, good. Good. Because, I kind of joke that when I tell people how to describe the difference between this show and the shows they do with Trey, the shows they do with Trey are closer to the old Brian and Vinny shows where they would just randomly go off on tangents that had nothing to do with anything. And this show's closer to a show with Dave where Dave does not go off on random tangents.
Well, let's fix that, shall we?
Sounds good. All right. So, gotta make sure to look at the right notes here because I was about 40 minutes into next week's show when you were good to go here. But here we go. November 20th, 2002. So every week I like to go through this week in Jerry Jarrett's book to tell you what all's going on. And This was a quiet week. Nothing is going on. Jerry Jarrett, you'll be happy to know, he slept, he ate, he talked to Vince Russo about his character, and that was it. The most interesting thing is he talked to BG James and was not, actually, I'm sorry, he didn't talk with BG yet. He was not happy with BG James' comment that he makes during this show, and will talk to BG next week to make sure it doesn't happen again. And sadly, he never tells us the result of that conversation.
I think we have a good idea as to what happened.
Bro, don't listen to the old man, bro. Keep talking about gay people, bro.
Well,
actually, I don't know if that's what happens. Mostly because I'm fairly certain BG doesn't make it a regular habit of being openly homophobic on these shows. Just when he's forcing anal sex on people who don't want it.
What a hypocrite, huh?
Yes. So the show begins with Mike Tenay speaking to Ron the Truth Killings, who, if you might recall, has not been on the show in about 3 weeks at this point, at least at the show live. Tenay said he also tried to offer Jeff Jarrett interview time, but was turned down, and that Mr. Wrestling 3 has not contacted Tenay as of yet. Truth said he doesn't care about Mr. Wrestling 3 anymore, and his focus is on Jeff Jarrett tonight. Jarrett has a passion for the NWA title, but Killings has the same passion, and tonight we'll find out who has the bigger passion, who is willing to do anything for it, and who will pay the bigger price. I thought this was a good promo here by the Truth.
Yeah. By the way, just to let everybody know, he was legitimately out for 3 weeks. I think he might have injured himself a little bit during that match with Scott Hall when I think it was Scott Hall's last match in the company. But
Yeah.
there it is.
Killings Jarrett tonight for the world title. So we go to our opener here. It is Divine Storm with Trinity versus Easy Money and Sonny Siaki. Now,
Two of
first of
your
all,
favorites.
yes. First of all, why does Sonny Siaki keep teaming up with people? Like, literally, this show's been on the air 22 weeks, and he's teamed with Jimmy Yang. He's teamed with Jorge Estrada, and he teamed with, was it Ron Harris? And none of them worked out. And here he is, once again in a new team. It's almost as if they don't have anything for Sonny Siaki to do, and so they can't keep his story straight.
Right.
Now,
and the funny thing about this is some key things happen in this match, or about this match.
well,
This is Trinity's first appearance.
Yes. Before we dive too much into that, I should note this is not Naomi. This is a different woman. In case you don't know, her name was Stephanie Finocchio. In fact, it still is Stephanie Finocchio. And she was a stunt woman who also had a brief run in WWE's ECW relaunch in 2006. And notably, as a stunt woman, she was Jennifer Garner's stunt woman in Daredevil. So I just want to clear up any potential confusion there.
Ah.
Go ahead.
And just to highlight, this is her first appearance in TNA, and she'll be there for roughly 4 years.
Honestly, she's gone during the summer of 2005 before they go on Spike. I'm pretty sure that they only had Tracy Brooks, and then Gail Kim came in, and Jackie Gata and Christy Hemme, but Trinity, I'm pretty sure, was gone before Spike started.
Okay. Because that would make sense, because that's around the time she started doing Daredevil.
Oh, no, Daredevil was out by this point. I think wasn't that 2002 that came out?
Daredevil movie, maybe 2004?
I could swear I was in high school when that came out.
It was 2003, Valentine's Day.
Yep.
So she did this after the movie wrapped.
Yes. Correct. Now, this also, like I should note, this is not her first stunt woman gig, but this is one of the ones that'll get mentioned more often than others. Now, this is also the TV debut of the team of Divine Storm. Quiet Storm wrestled a dark match back in August, but that was, of course, a dark match. This is the first time all three had been on TV.
Mm-hmm.
So the match begins. Everyone does a dive onto everyone, including Trinity doing a moonsault onto all four men. During Divine's dive, we were actually too busy watching a replay of another dive. This match does revolve around spots with Trinity as she gets involved a second time, giving Siaki a Hurricanrana. So Easy Money lays her out with a clothesline. The match I thought was fine for the first 5 minutes, but kind of fell apart in the last minute as Siaki and Quiet Storm seemed to be on separate pages, but Siaki eventually finished him off with the Siakalypse. A different,
Mhm.
yet not a bad way to start the show, I thought.
Yeah, it combined two things that actually made sense. It was uh, sometimes starting out with a tag match is good, but also had X Division style flavor to it. And plus, Trinity doing all of the crazy stuff really popped the crowd as well. So I thought it was good.
Now it is, in case you weren't a fan at the time, in a pro wrestling fan at the time, it was fairly obvious that they were trying to mimic the Lita success because when Lita debuted in the WWF with Essa Rios, this is what she would do. She would randomly give the men Essa Rios was wrestling hurricanranas and different types of moves. And then she got obviously paired up with the Hardy Boys and was a big part of them going to the next level during that 2000 period. So I gave the match a 3.5 out of 10.
I liked it a little bit more than you did. I gave it a 5.
Good.
Just
So
Trinity
after
doing her stuff was, I thought, that really enhanced the match.
Now, of course, I will always ask because this is me. Why was that allowed? Like, the referee wasn't distracted. The referee wasn't bumped. You know, these weren't main eventers who were allowed to just do whatever the hell they want. Uh, you know, that's my only thing. Like, it's great, do this stuff, but it doesn't take much to distract a pro wrestling referee. You just grab him and say, "Oh, look over here," and that's all you have to do.
I think it's
So,
also because, are you going to tell someone that I'm going to create a moment that's worthy of buzz and it's good buzz, and you're not going to allow me to do it? Trinity, I thought, created good buzz. And then it
I mean,
also during the match, there was also a consequence with it, where after she nailed Sunny Siaki with a moonsault, um, Easy Money just pancaked her.
I mean, I'm not saying she didn't, this wasn't good and the fans didn't pop for it, but they could do that and still, distract the referee. Like, I'm sorry, it's one of my pet peeves. Is like if you're just going to have every match be no disqualification, just embrace it, you know. But there, and the shows aren't no disqualifications. We've seen they do random DQs and weird countouts at times, which makes no sense when we don't have weird countouts or DQs in other times that they should. It's like I'm sorry, I don't think it's difficult for them to just distract the referee. Obviously it's not their situation to bump the referee because those are saved for other matches at this point. But, you know, they should have had one of Divine Storm just grab the referee and pull him to the side.
Yeah, but the
That's
other
all.
members, they were all four of them were in the same area. Also, I think
I
in TNA,
understand.
I think the rules relaxed outside the ring.
I get that, but
So
it's still outside interference. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like but yeah, all four are outside. All four don't need to be outside to catch her. She's a 120-pound woman. One of them could have gone in, and three people could catch her just as well as four did. Or
yeah,
three
but
should be able to. Hell, doesn't have to be one of Divine Storm. Fucking Sonny Siaki could be trying to put the match back to be a proper tag team match because he's a heel and he's, not into all this new school bullshit. And, you know, he's trying to get the match in the ring, and the referee's telling him to go stand on the corner or some shit. It it's like, and it's stuff that like, and yeah, this is my complaint watching wrestling nowadays too. Like, either just ignore the rules or embrace the rules. Like half-ass enforcing the rules whenever you want to do a count out or a DQ, it makes all these times you blatantly ignore it bullshit. And that I gotta say, that was a soapbox I was not expecting to go on.
Hey, with all those tangents, we are now like Brian and Vinny. Hey! By the way,
So
Olive
after
Garden
that,
is awesome. I love their chicken tortellini. Uh, Arena goes dark, and James Mitchell comes out and gives his sermon of the week.
should point out, by the way, Olive Garden is not paying us for that sponsored plug there. Um, so yeah, Jim Mitchell comes out with Belladonna, says that tonight the entire wrestling world's paying attention to the world title match, but he is here to tell the world that being the manager of the tag team titles is not enough to quench his thirst. His thirst can only be quenched by blood and more gold, and the winner tonight will have to deal with him and his disciples will take control of the NWA World Heavyweight Title.
And then a squash match happens.
Yep, we have a winner and loser leaves town match as Malice with Jim Mitchell and Belladonna takes on Corey with a K Williams. The only reason I knew this was Corey with a K was because he had the letter K on his ass. Malice beat him with a choke slam, and the highlight of the match was Malice going for a top rope what a maneuver, but he tripped and fell face first on the mat. Um, Malice does come back for a one-off appearance in March, but doesn't wrestle for TNA again until he passes away next December. Are you there, Cyndi?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So, any thoughts on Malice's big win here?
Also interesting to note in this match is that Corey Williams actually tried to go for the gusto. He actually low blowed Malice, but it just kind of pissed Malice off more. And it's also kind of sad that I'm not going to see like his big thing with Malice, James Mitchell's thing with Malice isn't going to happen anymore. It's sad. So I was kind of looking forward to it.
Like I said, I'm assuming Malice's drug issues are getting out of hand, and that's why they're not going to use him going further. But they, I don't want to say they wasted Malice because, I mean, on the grand list of people that TNA wasted in the last 22 years, Malice isn't terribly high on the list. But he started with a bang and seemed poised to be the breakout heel of the group. But then he had that one match with fucking Don Harris, and they both got punished for Don Harris, being a Nazi.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Don Harris, he's out next in our random number one contenders tournament final as him and Ron take on the SAT. Yes, it was a real match that they really did have. By the way, I gave that Malice match a 1.5 out of 10.
Gave it a 2.
So the SAT Harris Twins match was exactly what you expect. Ron and Don actually did sell briefly for the Maximos, but this match was the larger twins beating up the smaller twins. The highlight was Don, of all people, doing a dive over the top rope onto the Maximos. Yes, you heard me right. Don Harris, 6'6", 270-ish, did a dive over the top rope onto his much smaller opponents. And then Ron or Don pinned Jose or Joel to win the tournament with the H-bomb. And I put in parenthesis, it was Ron pinning Jose. The
Yeah,
match.
because earlier Ron did he power bombed one of the Maximos onto the other. I think Jose into Jorge.
Mhm. I gotta say, of all the matches we've ever seen, this was definitely one of them. It was slightly better than I expected. Slightly. 1.5 out of 10.
I gave it a 2. Mainly for the Don Harris dive and the SATs taking a good beating. Otherwise, this was nothing. It was painfully boring.
Before we move on, I would like to say that Ron and Don Harris were not in the worst match of the night, nor was
Not by a
Malice
long
and
shot.
Corey Williams. So Goldie interviews April backstage about being in the shower with Bruce last week. April tells us that that never happened. Someone in the production department obviously superimposed Bruce's head in the shower. April began crying, so Bruce walked in and said he was gay, and he hugged April. Lenny Lane walked in and called Bruce a fake gay guy and wannabe homo, and thus he named himself Miss TNA. And before they could get into a fight, Brian Lawler ran in and attacked Bruce. And I just wrote, "Oh boy." Then
Yeah.
that
If that
that
wasn't
leads
bad
us
enough,
that leads us to a match. It's BG James versus Lenny Lane. Did you note that Lenny used Disco Inferno's theme song?
yeah, that because the Rainbow Express was done with last week, so they had to throw any piece of music that they had for Lenny, and Disco Inferno hadn't been around since what, episode 10?
Ish. He uh he quit that week where uh Jerry was still trying to find a new investor, and so he had to cut everyone's pay, or everyone was going to be delayed in getting paid or something. And Disco was one of the people who said that he couldn't take a pay cut or delay getting paid or whatever. Now, BG announces to the crowd that, and I quote, he is about to beat a faggot. I'd like to point out that this is not the only time this week on the Something Else Podcast Network that a Southern babyface, uh, calls a heel a faggot. For more, listen to tomorrow's Smoky Mountain review. And I note that BG has the temerity to call another man a faggot when he is the guy who openly forces himself on wrestlers every week before giving them his finish.
And I noted in this all throughout the match that mind games happened. Like Lenny would use all of the gay mind games in his book to kind of give them back at BG.
Yes, Lenny attempted to have anal sex with BG. BG fought it off. Some Does this mean Lenny is the top in the relationship with Kiwi or Bruce? Because, a few weeks ago when Bruce was in the ring with BG, Bruce was inviting BG to give him gay anal sex. And now this week, Lenny is the person trying to give it to BG.
Well, I want to rewind that a bit because go back to the promo when he said that Bruce is straight as an arrow and a fake homo. Wouldn't that make Bruce bisexual?
If Bruce really was into April, I mean, it's like, and I mean, I don't know, you know, what your mindset is in all this. But to me, it's like when I get those random DMs from dudes saying, "Hey, if I want to have sex with you, does that make me gay?" Like, first of all, no. But secondly, I'm not going to tell you what your sexuality is. You have to figure that one out on your own. And so if Bruce needs to discover whether he's gay, whether he's bi, whether he's pan, whatever, that's up to Bruce.
Spoiler alert, we'll never know. Um,
Is Bruce
so,
still alive? We can get him on this show.
yeah, he's still alive.
What the hell? This is becoming the question of the night. What the hell is Bruce up to?
I know Bruce was a fabuloso in Mexico for quite a while.
Interesting. Interesting. Um, so Bruce runs in.
Yeah.
Right.
Did Lucha Libre USA? Bruce was Gigi.
Interesting.
Oh, funny
Interesting.
thing about this, and this kind of ties. I'll talk about it later. Let's finish the match, and then we'll talk about Bruce at the end.
All right. Well,
The match breaks down big time.
that would imply the match was together at some point.
It got even more broken.
Lenny hits a moonsault, and Bruce randomly runs in and attacks Lenny and gives Lenny a pile driver. The referee watching this somehow did not see it happen. Brian Lawler came down and attacked Bruce. BG then pinned Lenny for the win. After the match, April had come down the ramp and was, in hysterics. So after the match, Goldilocks, yes, Goldilocks, walked out, took April hand in hand, and walked away with her, implying that they are lesbians. I am ready to change the channel.
I think we could agree 0 out of 10.
0. And I think we had two Bruce matches that were not zeros. And yeah, despite what they try to tell us later, I believe, this is it. No more Bruce. I don't think there's any more Lenny Lane. This shit is over.
Yep. This was Lenny's last appearance, Bruce's last appearance. Bruce would have a dark match the next week against Rick Santel.
Yes, but spoiler alert, we don't watch the dark matches.
That's because they're nowhere to be seen.
Oh darn, I'm so sad. That's.
So Bruce would make a career out of doing what Malice did. Go somewhere that's even more drug fueled. 2003 All Japan. He
2003 All Japan has a lot of weirdness in it.
Mm-hmm.
And doesn't he? And he goes back to being the funkster, which is his Hulk Hogan ripoff gimmick.
Mm-hmm. And Malice would be Gigantes.
Yeah. No more fucking no more fucking, but no more Rainbow Express. Thank the heavens above. So from there, we go to our next match, and I don't know. I get the feeling you and I may disagree on this one, but it's Jorge Estrada with Priscilla versus the Crimson Dragon versus AJ Styles with Mortimer Plumtree. Now, I'm not gonna say who the dragon is yet. I'm gonna say that at the end of the match. But this was a bad match, and it is shocking, especially. Yeah, in my opinion, I thought this was a really bad match. Especially considering one of the participants is AJ Styles, who is, as his name implies, phenomenal. The Crimson Dragon is at least a, 8-year veteran of wrestling at this point. And Jorge Estrada is rough around the edges, we'll say, but he, especially when he's in the ring with somebody really good, he can hold his own. Um, this, in my mind, wasn't their night. So the match starts, and they did the spot where everyone is missing moves on everyone, but this is on purpose. And I did remember this happened once in WCW. Disco Inferno was under a mask during some random eight luchador tag. Everyone missed dives, and then Disco gave everyone a Stone Cold Stunner. And actually, speaking of Disco, before I looked up who this was, I thought if this guy wasn't so lanky, I would have thought it was Disco. Um, and then I was also thinking a cross between Easy Money and Vince Russo, of all people. Um, this I thought was a total style clash and not in the AJ Styles finisher way. Dragon style is not one that typically meshes with Styles and Jorge. The match was falling apart, and AJ wasn't experienced enough at this point to bring it back together. Dragon goes for an Asai moonsault. AJ trips him up, and Dragon nearly breaks his neck by landing on his head. Dragon does, weirdly enough, Dragon was missing stuff left and right, and then he breaks off a super hurricanrana off the top rope, which is a move that Jericho once did in WCW and nearly broke his neck on. And Crimson Dragon, who's having this match, pulled it off with no problem, showing ultimately that life is not fair. Um, I noted they did have an exciting finish. Dragon went for another Super Hurricanrana, but AJ blocked it and gave him a Styles Clash off of the middle rope, where they land on top of Jorge Estrada for the pin. And Crimson Dragon is Chris Hamrick, who was one of those people. It's like he was in the NWCW. He was a WWF job guy briefly. He's been around, but for whatever reason, he's under a mask, and B, this just wasn't his night. Um, I think of the matches that were given time, because obviously, like, oh, there was a 3-minute squash match. I wouldn't say that was better, but of the matches that were given time, I think this was the worst X Division match in TNA so far. Um, and I gave it a 1.5 out of 10.
What match were you watching?
Watching this match. What match were you watching?
A great match. I love this match.
Okay.
It was the perfect palate cleanser to whatever the hell that Lenny Lane, Brian, BG James, and those squash matches were. So I judged it on its place in the show, and it was fantastic.
Okay. I'll give you that. I wasn't, looking at it as, comparing it to Bruce or Lenny Lane versus BG James, because I mean, fuck, Malice versus Corey Williams was a 10 in comparison to BG James versus Lenny Lane here. But
Also, you
but hey,
noted that
well,
the about Chris Hamrick under a mask. I think there was a reason behind that, because I think this was around the time where Messiah had his thumbs chopped off by Rob Black's goons.
okay.
So I think he wore a mask to say, hey, I'm not working a bigger gig. You're the biggest gig. So he wears a mask as Crimson Dragon. And Rob Black is stupid enough to believe it.
So apparently that happened on August 1st, 2002, and was on a September 2002 episode of America's Most Wanted. The show with what's his name? Not the tag team with Chris Harris and James Storm.
John Walsh.
Yes, I could see him in my head. I just couldn't remember his damn name. So something tells me that your rating of this match is going to be a lot higher than my 1.5. So give it to me. What did you give this match?
An 8 out of 10, baby.
I think you and I need to uh, find different co-hosts. No. Uh, I mean, hey, like I said, that's the joy of, anything. It's like if we had the same opinion about everything, this show would suck. So, hey, you were into
Mhm.
this match. I didn't care for it myself. But yeah. Um so backstage, Goldilocks, who is now wearing a fur coat, asks Harris and Storm about their plan on taking back the belts tonight. Harris said their plan was to beat the hell out of Jim Mitchell and then take the belts back. I mean, beating the hell out of Jim Mitchell will take a lot of effort. Storm then said that if Belladonna gets involved, he will give her the 8-second ride and break her neck because this is the South and breaking the necks of women is a babyface move in pro wrestling. And I'm going to just say in pro wrestling, I'm not going to imply anything else.
And then we get a 2-minute promo of the new church. Or was this before the Storm and Harris interview? Because it was 2 minutes of the new church wreaking havoc and then winning the tag titles.
No, I didn't even write it down. You're talking about the video package?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't even write it down. I was like, wait, what? When you said promo, I was like looking for, wait, Jim Mitchell talked earlier in the show. What are you talking about? Um, so after months of listing AEW as champions, it is kind of weird listing them as the challengers for a change, which is funny because they were only champions like 7 or 8 weeks. They were wrestling on the show every damn week, so it felt longer. So we had World Tag Team Champions, Disciples of the New Church, with Jim Mitchell and Belladonna versus America's Most Wanted. Um, this was the usual four-way brawl these two teams do. By the time they get into the ring, Harris had been clocked with a chair. Storm gets a hot tag and beats the unholy hell out of Slash and Brian Lee. ANW goes for the death sentence, but Harris gets tripped up. We get a stacked up superplex where Storm assisted in the beating of his own tag team partner, which is one of the things you need to just forget when you see that move. Jim Mitchell jumps up on the ring apron to distract the referee, uh, and actually distracts the referee from seeing Storm hit primetime Brian Lee with a chair. They
Mm-hmm.
finish the Storm, pick up Brian Lee's spike, and use it on him as the referee turned around, and thus AMW got disqualified. After the match, Storm gave Belladonna the 8-second ride. The referee told them to knock it off, so Harris gave him the catatonic. Security ran in and told them to knock it off, so AMW hit them with chairs. And finally, local indie guys ran in and told them to stop, so they did. Now, while this feud has been a lot of really good stuff in the ring, I did think out of the three matches we've seen with these two teams, this has been the weakest of those three matches, I thought. But I mean, it was still a very good match. I gave it a 4.5.
I gave it a 6, and I was fine with Belladonna getting the 8-second ride mainly because she was warned. She did it. She did it twice in this match. So first time, fine, shake you off. Second time, all right, you're getting the 8-second ride.
I mean, my only issue with it, and cue rant time, and I promise this won't be much of a rant, but my only problem with this is, like, didn't she just debut last week?
Uh,
So she's,
3 weeks ago, I think.
I don't think it was that long ago.
No, she came 2 weeks ago or something along those lines.
Oh. Either way. So, okay, so even if she came in 3 weeks ago, at best she's been here 3 weeks, and we're already laying her out with the babyface's big move. And spoiler alert, and as we mentioned last week or whenever week she actually debuted, she is here briefly, but she does come back next week. So this wasn't, James Storm writing her off, which, in my opinion, this is something done to write her off. Because, like, especially since she's not going to be here much longer anyway. But she's back next week, and uh, spoiler alert for what I've watched so far about next week, it's not even mentioned. But hey, who needs stuff like that to be brought up on occasion? Um, you said you gave this match a 6?
Yep.
All right. Up next, we saw why Amazing Red has never done a promo in his life. Um, Mike Mike Tenay does a pre-tape promo with Amazing Red, and he really needs work. And I know Ed Ferrara is gone, but Eddie Guerrero in his book talked about how when Ed Ferrara came into WCW, and they were together for that brief amount of time at the end of '99, Ed Ferrara helped Eddie Guerrero out a lot with his promos. And hey, if Eddie Guerrero wants to put over somebody like Ed Ferrara as being a great coach for promos, then I'll give it to him. Ferrara could have helped Amazing Red. I'm not saying Red could have been Eddie Guerrero, but Ferrara might have been able to pull something out of Red's personality to improve on his promo skills. Because I mean, he's in TNA off and on and off and on for the next 10 years, and I don't remember him talking ever again.
There was that
Maybe
time
he
in
does.
2009 where Don West managed him.
Yes. And
And he cut off Amazing Red's promos. He was the hype man for Amazing Red. And actually got... This is what's funny about certain managers, in my opinion. Certain managers were great, but never won gold. Slick never won gold. And I'm sure there are a lot of other great managers that didn't win gold with their lieges. Don West, as a manager, won the X Division title. Had a title holder as his person, as being the manager, quote unquote, for Amazing Red.
Now, I know, like, because Don West was manager until Hogan and Bischoff came in, but did Red already? Because Red won the title right before the Bound for Glory. He won it from Samoa Joe in that ridiculous situation because this is when Joe had gained a lot of weight, and so he had Red, who was 130 pounds, beating 305, 310 pound Samoa Joe. But did it's like right around that time was when Don West became his manager, but I can't remember if it was before he won the title or after, because it was like just bang, 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 you know,
Don
when it
West
did
managed
happen.
him before. When Red came back in 2009, he was immediately with Don West. And Don West, after he turned heel, it looks like that heel turn never happened. Thank God.
It was also the heel turn basically ended when Don West got taken off commentary because they brought Taz in to be Samoa Joe's manager and then pretty much immediately dropped that and put him in the broadcast booth with Tenay and dropped DW.
And then he came in and said, "Hey, tell you what, I'm just here hyping up Amazing Red."
There you go. We get a Jerry Lynn interview, which was a shitload better. And keep in mind, Jerry Lynn is not a great talker. And
No.
Goldilocks had taken off her fur coat, the one that she wore 10 minutes earlier when she was talking to America's Most Wanted. So
I think her and April used. Never mind. No, go on.
So the next match is X Division champion Jerry Lynn versus Amazing Red. The winner gets to defend next week against AJ Styles. I know this will be a shock to you, but I bet that match, which I haven't seen yet, will be better than the New Church versus the Harris Brothers.
I forgot that match is happening. That's two heel tag teams going up against one another. Goody.
Yeah. Well, it's got a bit of an asterisk on it because I don't know if slash when the match actually happens, but I mean there because Sean Waltman, spoiler alert for next week's show, Sean Waltman quits the company the day before next week's show, and that's the culmination of a week long of Sean Waltman not wanting to work with Vince Russo. And there was talk that to keep Sean Waltman, that they would put the tag team titles on him. So it's possible Waltman was going to win the belts next week from the new church and then lose it. Well, maybe lose it, who knows? But then be the one to wrestle Ron and or Dawn and Dawn and or Ron. Hmm. I have to do that joke on two shows because the Harrises are in Smoky Mountain too.
Are they the Bruise Brothers in Smoky Mountain at this time?
Yeah, they've got the Blue Brothers look that they had in WWF already, the mountain look. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but they're the Bruise Brothers. Um, so Red goes for a flip dive early on, but Lynn catches him and runs him upside down and chest first into the ring apron. That looked like it sucked. Uh, Minutes later, Red did a fantastic dive over the ring post to the outside. So I guess being run into the ring apron didn't suck for long. Red does the 619, which gets conveniently called the 718 because that's Brooklyn's area code. Lynn goes to the middle rope, but Red gives him trouble in paradise. He goes for Hurricanrana, but Lynn rolls through that and almost picks up the win. Lynn reverses Red's flipping pile driver and manages to drop him on his head. Red connects with a tornado DDT and goes up top, but Lynn grabbed him for a power bomb. Red reversed that for Hurricanrana, and then Lynn finished him off with a cradle pile driver from the middle rope. Not as good as the AJ match from a few weeks ago, but easily, in my opinion, the highlight of the show up to this point.
I thought this was a fantastic match. I love this match. Everything
I
you
gave
see
it
in
a
current era
7.0.
wrestling is there.
Mhm.
You said 7?
Yes.
I gave it a 9. I want to tell people go and find this match. You will not be disappointed. You'll see why people gushed over Amazing Red in the early 2000s. And you'll also see why the X Division really carried TNA.
Mhm. I'm not saying that this wasn't a really good match. I just, I think it was a big step down from that AJ Red match from what was that, the 31st or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so before the main event, Don takes the mic to give the hard sell for next week, which includes New Church versus Kurt Hennig and Six Pac for the tag team titles. I'm like, what about the Harris brothers? Why did the Harrises have to win a tag team tournament if Kurt Hennig and Six Pac could just be given a title shot? Yeah. Um, Jerry Lynn versus AJ Styles for the X Division title for the 27th time in 23 weeks. And Brian Lawler versus Bruce. And two of those matches will not happen next week. Spoiler alert. So then we get the main event match. And we've been talking for weeks about I don't know what got into Jerry Jarrett to suddenly book one really good segment per show, really good old school segment per show about the world title, because the world title was always there and always put over, but it wasn't a big enough deal until Jeff Jarrett was about to win it. Because like the last couple of weeks, they've really amped up the look how great the NWA title is thing. We get separate video packages for both Killings and Jarrett, which was a nice touch. We get the debut of the Jeremy Borash, Michael Buffer ring introductions, where, once everyone has their introduction, then Borash stands in the ring and introduces them again. Um, we note that Jarrett won the tournament. Now, Jarrett did win the tournament, but the first round, it was after he beat up Kurt Hennig for 5 minutes with a chair. The second round was a forfeit, and then he won the tournament using a chair as well. So He won the tournament, but it is what it is.
Mhm.
Um, Now they gave this, I don't want to say segment, they gave this match and this presentation a lot of time. There were almost 35 minutes left of the show when they began the videos and the introductions, etc. Um, and mind you, they still like they ate up a lot of time with the intros and whatnot, but they still had almost 20 minutes left when the bell rang, you know, which honestly makes it, I mean, not including the gauntlet match, that makes it like the longest NWA title match since TNA began. So, I mean, Ron Killings was not having 20-minute matches with Scott Hall and Kurt Hennig on this show. Um, so this was a really, really good world title match. Um, so Killing shoves and pokes Jarrett, trying to get him to fight. So Jarrett fights back, doing a high drop kick. Ron's entire offense at times seemed to just be designed to piss off Jarrett. He slaps Jarrett. He puts on the figure four. At one point, Jarrett goes for the 10 punches of doom and somehow accidentally pokes the referee in the eyes. Jarrett checks on him. Killings grabs a chair, but Jarrett grabs it and clocks truth. They fight outside. We get some main event brawling. Jarrett's bleeding from being posted. Um, and of course, the main event brawling, as we've noted before, that's the terminology I use when they go into the crowd, fight up to the stands, fight down the stands, and the referee doesn't care about countouts or disqualifications. Um, Ron the Truth does his best New Jack impression and does the second balcony dive in TNA history after the one that Slash did, and he puts Jarrett through a table. They manage to fight back to the ring where they find Scott Armstrong attempting to count them out. And despite fighting around the arena for 4 minutes, the referee had reached all the way the count of two. Jarrett does a fiery babyface comeback, but Killings knocks out the referee with a forearm. They collide mid-ring, which brings out Mr. Wrestling 3. 3 has a guitar, and he teases hitting the truth and stops. And he teases hitting Jarrett, and then he stops. Because, of course, this is a swerve.
Bro.
And yeah, he takes out Ron Killings. Jarrett makes the cover. Scott Armstrong makes the count. And Jeff Jarrett is your NWA World Heavyweight Champion. Before we get to the finish where we reveal Mr. Wrestling 3, what did you think about the rest of this match?
Like it's every Jeff Jarrett match we've seen up to this point, except it actually means something.
Honestly, this may be the time you and I have our biggest argument of the show, and keep in mind where this is going. I thought this was the best match of the show. Just between the presentation of the whole match, the match itself, and the fact that we haven't had a lot of great world title matches in TNA so far.
That's
I
true.
gave this match a 7.5 out of 10.
Oddly enough, we gave it the same score.
Nice. So, who is Mr. Wrestling 3? Is it Officer Barbrady? Is it the 1991 Denver Broncos? Let's bring on Mike Tenay to, let us know who it is. Let's go to Mike right now.
Mr. Wrestling 3 in the ring.
A champion, a new NWA World Heavyweight Champion.
What's this? What?
Oh, you gotta be kidding me!
Oh, shit! It's Vince Russo! What the hell is this all about? It's Vince Russo!
Can you believe this?
Oh shit, it's Vince Russo.
And everything
we knew
changes.
obviously we knew it was happening because, even if, even if you weren't following TNA at the time, I've been telling you for weeks. We've both been telling you for weeks. You know, Russo and Jerry Jarrett are having their falling out, and so Jerry Jarrett figures, what the hell? Let's put him on TV and see how that goes. And it's gonna go, I'll tell you, because Russo is here, being booked by Jerry Jarrett. Because unless Jerry Jarrett's like the nicest person ever, and considering all the things he said about Vince Russo, I doubt it. Jerry Jarrett is still the 100% booker and writer of this show. Like, he takes people's opinions and gets his ideas from people, but he is currently the final say so. So yeah, as of right now, this is all Jerry Jarrett.
Mm-hmm.
So I it, I I mean, I want to try to like block my head out of everything I know is going to happen and just be like, on this moment, and go from there. Like, on this moment, we know Vince Russo is, or he can be, a tremendous TV character. And so want to give it the benefit of the doubt, but yeah, this is not the like most shining moment in TNA history right now. Although I will say I loved Tenay screaming, "Oh shit, it's Vince Russo."
It's supposed to be like Jeff Jarrett's old friend comes back and helps him get over the hump.
Yep. Just wait for his promo next week. That was the last thing I saw before we started doing this show. Wait until his promo next week.
If it's the
But
promo that I'm thinking of, yeah.
it's not the
About
one with
that.
Piper, if that
No,
helps.
I'm not talking. No, because that promo is months away.
Are you sure? I think it's the next week after next week. So 2 weeks, like as
Wow.
normal people would say it. Like, I'm pretty sure it's before the end of the year. I could be wrong, but because he's in WWE in March.
I was thinking January,
See it,
February 2003.
I mean, maybe, but I don't know. We'll see, because we're gonna get to the era where TNA is bringing in like random people every single week. And hey, it's gonna make for some wacky segments and matches. We'll just say that. Along with a lot of people make you go, "Oh, they were here?" And we say, "Yes, yes, they were."
Who
Um,
knows? Maybe we might get Hermie Sadler back.
so I don't know if you actually averaged out your match ratings, but your average match rating is going to be a lot higher than mine, just by the sounds of it.
Yeah, because of the
My
AJ Crimson Dragon Jorge Estrada match.
Well, that too. I think I oh, and to a lesser extent, the Jerry Lynn match, you gave that a higher score.
Yeah,
But
but it
I
wasn't
gave
by much.
yeah, but I have an average match quality of 3.38. Overall enjoyment, I gave a 4.5. I thought the show was a step down from last week. At the end of the day, like, I think what helped get it all the way, quote unquote, to a 4.5 was the last hour, and specifically the last 35, 40 minutes with Jarrett and Truth. And it's amazing that they know how, like, this also kind of pisses you off too, because like this match and this segment was proof that they knew how to present the world title match correctly. And they chose not to do that on multiple occasions. But that's well, that's a fight for another day. And future
Mhm.
build, they announced 3 matches for next week, and 2 of them don't happen. I guess it's good that the one match that does happen is AJ versus Jerry Lynn. But a future build, I gave it a 2.5, giving us an overall rating of 3.46.
So going over my scores and over what happened, I probably had an average of like 4.5.
Let's see. What were your ratings?
7.5 same as yours for the Jarrett Truth match. 9 out of 10 for Lynn Red. 6 out of 10 for AMW versus New Church. 8 out of 10 for Styles Crimson Dragon and Jorge Estrada. And I think the first 4 matches was like 2 out of 10, 0 out of 10.
Okay. So yeah, you're around 4.5, 5.
Yeah, about that.
All right. So that's is it for this week's TNA. It's the beginning of the Reign of Terror. You know, if you don't like Jeff Jarrett as world champion, too bad, because outside of 4 months next year when AJ gets the belt, and then a month in 2004, Jarrett is going to be the champion from now until the end of the pay-per-view, the end of the weekly pay-per-view era, and is basically world champion with a few breaks here and there. Jarrett's the world champion until Kurt Angle comes in, and that's October of 2006 is when he loses the belt for the last time. Spoiler
Yep.
alert. So,
And he loses
40
it to Sting.
yeah, 47 months of Jeff Jarrett as world champion. And I'm obviously I'm not going to sit here and say and be an asshole or anything, but it's like I'm pretty sure he was going to get the world title in 2007, but he took all that time off because of his wife dying. But who knows?
And then he
But
focuses on his kids, invests in a young, rising country music star named Taylor Swift. I wonder whatever happened to her.
I wonder what she charged for babysitting. You think she got $10 an hour?
I think, 2007.
2007, 2008, somewhere around there.
I think $8 an hour would have been fair.
Well, anyway, before we finish things up, did you have anything you want to plug?
Yeah. Cake pops are awesome.
What's awesome?
It's like cake on a stick in bowl form, and it tastes amazing. It's like halfway cooked cake dough, and it's delicious.
I did not know that was a thing.
You never had cake pops?
No. I mean I don't really go down the snack aisle much these days, but I mean it might be a local thing to you. I mean, what
No,
is it? Like,
you're
is it
going in the
just
wrong aisle.
is just cake on a stick, or what is it?
You got to go to the bakery section for it.
I'll be honest, if I go there, I usually just get some banana nut bread. But what is it? It's just cake on a stick, or what is it?
It's like a lollipop, but instead of a lollipop, it's cake.
I I am 99% sure I've never seen that in my life. Next time I go to the grocery store, I'll have to check it out.
All right.
Hmm. All right. Well, go to your local grocery store and get some cake on a stick. Um, I'm by the time you, well, actually not by the time you listen to this, because that's going to be next week's show. So by the time you listen to this, it's going to be Wednesday. Nothing shocking about that. Um, and we'll get into the schedule for next week. Cyndi and I will still be here next week for the show for the 27th. We're recording that tomorrow. So, spoiler alert, if the world collapses in the next 10 days and we don't discuss it, that's why. But that's going to do it for this week's show. I want to thank everyone for listening. Hope you all enjoyed it. And we'll talk to you again in 7 days.